As I'm recording this video right now, only 51% of people in the UK actually budget their income. And of that 51%, 89% of those people will overspend on that budget, making the whole thing a massive waste of time. Also, as of right now, there are 4 million people in the UK that are spending more than they are making each month. Something that a simple, easy budget can fix. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through some tips that I use to make sure I don't overspend my monthly allowance, and some strategies that you can use to make sure that you are prepared for any issues or big spends that may come out throughout the year and catch you off guard, to make sure you don't fall in the 89% category that are going to overspend on their budget. Before I get too into this video, I'd like to apologise for the state of myself. It is 28 degrees in July and I'm in a room with no aircon and no airflow, so I'm a little bit hot right now. So what is the best budget to use? Honestly, the best budget to use is one that you can actually stick to, which I know is a little bit cliche, but as I said at the start, 89% of people that make a budget do not stick to it. So if you have to use something, make sure it's something you can reliably use each month, each week, each day, however you want to do it. Just make sure it's something realistic and you can stick to. It's very easy to go online and find all the different items out there which can help you with all these different tools, and you can easily get overwhelmed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I use month by month basis to very easily make sure that I don't fall into the 89% category. So the method I use is called the 50-30-20 method, and it's not revolutionary, it's not groundbreaking. I'm sure it's been around for a long time, but it's simple and it works. But what is the 50-30-20 method? The 50-30-20 method is breaking down your income that you make on a monthly basis to make sure it works hard for you and make sure you stay within the parameters of your living expenses, and also make sure you don't live outside of your means. The 50 of this refers to 50%. So that is 50% of your income for the month will go towards things you have to pay for. This could be rent, mortgage, food bills, utilities. These are the things that you have to pay for in order to survive. This is easily the simplest step, because all you need to do is tally up all of your things that you have to pay for and work out what they amount to. If they are 50% or less of your household income, then brilliant, you're doing a great job, keep going. However, if they're not, then you might need to see if you can make some changes to make that work. If that's physically impossible, this model is adaptable, which I will come back to at the end of the video. So let's say you've got your 50% in line, that's all great. What's the 30? The 30% is what you want to pay for. So this is going out, having drinks, buying clothes, video games, whatever you want to pay for, subscriptions, mobile phone, all of those things will fall into the 30% category. The 30% I think is one that people sort of get wrong quite a lot of the time, because we love to spend money. We love to enjoy the fact that we work for our money and we get to spend it and have fun. Now 30% doesn't actually sound like a lot, but if you're smart you can make it go a long way. Why do I say people get it wrong? Honestly, people don't budget their 30% correctly. And I don't mean that they don't work out the 30%, that's pretty straightforward. I mean they overspend, or they don't facilitate things that are going to come out of that 30% budget later in the year. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let's say you have a car. I have a car, therefore you have to make sure it's serviced, or what we call an MOT in the UK, to make sure it's legally compliant on the road. You have to get that done once every 12 months. Let's say an MOT costs £120. So that means that I could, the month is due, pay £120 of that 30% and then have a significant amount less to play with that month. Or I could do the smart thing, which is that I know that cost is going to come out every year. So I work out how much it's going to be for the year, divided by 12, and have that come out of my 30% budget every single month. So rather than pay 120 all in one go and have a tighter month than usual, I just put £10 aside every single month. So when it comes to that yearly renewal, I don't feel too much of a pinch, I'm ready for it, and I'm good to go. How you make sure you have that money is entirely up to you. One technique you could use is you could have a separate savings account for each of your yearly costs and set up standing orders, direct debits, whatever it will be, to go into each of those accounts throughout the year. So that means that you know when that cost comes around, you don't have to worry too much about forking out a lot in one go because it's all been prepared throughout the year and it's good to go. I think another way people get caught out with this is things like Christmas and birthdays. They're the same time every single year. So all you need to do is work out how much you're going to spend on those people that you're going to buy gifts for at that time of year, divided by 12, and well, hey, you're quid's in. And then what about the 20%? Well, the 20% is purely for savings or for your future self. And what that looks like will change on person to person. When it comes to your 20%, this is money you want to put aside to set for your future self. How you do that is up to you, but I would say, especially with the times that we've lived through with lockdowns and economic disruption, that you should ideally have a 6 months savings ready to go, a 6-month emergency fund. Now, what does a 6-month emergency fund actually look like? Well, a 6-month emergency fund is different to 6 months worth of savings. And let me break that down for you. Let's say you have a take-home pay of $30,000 per year. That means if you're living by this rule, that 50% of that $30,000, $15,000, will be towards the things that you have to pay for. So if you were going to cover 6 months of your have to pay for expenses, that would mean you would need £7,500. Now, the reason I say that 6 months worth of saving is different to a 6-month emergency fund is because of this. If you have 6 months worth of savings, that is $3,000, which is a good amount, but is not enough to cover 6 months worth of bills. To have 6 months worth of bills, you need to save for 15 months at least, based on the 50-30-20 method on the income that I said earlier. So that's quite a difference between a 6 months lot of savings and a 6 months emergency fund. That will take a long time to get into, obviously, and how you want to do that is up to you. There are a few different ways of savings that are risky and some ways that are safe. I would highly recommend going the safer ways first before you start doing things that are risky, because if you need to take out some money and you take the riskier route, you could potentially lose some of the money you put in and be actually worse off. Now, how you set this budget out is entirely up to you. You can use an Excel spreadsheet, you can use pen and paper, you can use a stone tablet with a chisel. However it's going to work, make sure you just have something that you can reliably stick to. And a great starting point for this is getting a month's worth of your bank statements and going through line by line and seeing what you have to pay for, what you want to pay for, and how much you can set aside for savings. Like I said, you should be aiming for the 50-30-20. Now, the 50-30-20 is an ideal situation to be in, but let's say you're locked into a mortgage or a rent contract or something like that, which means you can't spend 50% of your income purely on needs. You have to spend a bit more. That's where this model can be a bit adaptable. As long as you stick to an even ratio of spending what you need, spending what you want, and having some aside, then it's a little bit flexible for you. Let's say you have to have a 70-20-10 or a 65-25-15 split. As long as you make it work for you, then that is the main thing here. What you really want to focus on is setting aside money for you to have fun with and money for you to save. If you don't account for the spending and the saving, you will absolutely be part of the 89% of people that overspend their budget, and worse off, you might be one of the 4 million that actually spends more than they make each month. So that's the budget. It's nice and straightforward. It's not reinventing the wheel. It's simple, but hopefully there's some advice there that you can take away and use. And also, the main thing to do is to review. It's adaptable. You might have to make changes to your personal life or to your living situation that means this is movable, but make sure you review it frequently. I would argue at least every 3 months to make sure you're in line with where you need to be, and you're going to make sure you've got that emergency fund set up and good to go. And also, don't forget to spend and have fun. That 30% is there for a reason. You don't live to work, you work to live. So make sure you are actually using some of that money to treat yourself for doing such a good job in budgeting. And that's all I've got time for. So thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you found something helpful in there. And if you liked it, then let me know. Any other questions, please let me know in the comments and I'll be happy to try and answer them. And I will see you in the next one. Take care.